Hello everybody, welcome to Short Shot Archery. Anthony here, and in this video I'm going to give you my experience at the Vegas Shoot 2025 that was hosted between the Horseshoe and the Paris hotels. I'm going to be going through this while I practice today because we're really backed up here at Short Shot Archery. A fair amount of products got sold, orders came in. I had a lot of customers that placed orders while I was at Vegas. So I'm trying to maximize my time. So I'm going to be going through all the information that I wrote down. I'll be going through it while, or in between, technically in between, shooting some arrows here, so I try to make my time a little more efficient. So this is going to get broken down into roughly 4 sections. There's going to be an archer's side of it that's going to consist of like the hotel room stuff too, and just my perspective as an archer. I shot Olympic Recurve Championship Division. I didn't shoot flights, but I can at least kind of give my perspective from the championship side, at least as an Olympic recurve shooter. I also participated as a vendor at the event. Short Shot Archery, ShortShotArchery.com, has a booth, or had a booth at the Vegas Shoot 2025, and I can share my insight on that. And then I want to share some things that, stories I heard from trusted people, or people I know that have been going to Vegas Shoots for a long time. I'm going to share some of those. And then the last one, number 4, I guess, is going to be kind of, I guess you call them like theories, conspiracy theories, stuff I don't have hard information for, but I like ideas, so I'm going to share my ideas with you on where the Vegas Shoot is going. And feel free to comment your thoughts too on it. Like, I don't know, can't really be wrong. I might not be right at all, but I have ideas on where we're going, so I want to share those. So I'm going to shoot this arrow and I'll get back to you guys. Alright, so first off, the archer stuff, some of it is like room related things too. We got some papers there. The hotel itself. Now I stayed in the Horseshoe. I don't know about the Paris. That was, I think, more money, but it was also not connected to the vendors area and the championship shooting areas. They weren't in the same building. So by staying in the Horseshoe, I could go down the elevator, make a left, and basically down that hall was the entire vendor trade, the whole trade show, and basically the only place I'm going to shoot championship matches. Unless I wanted to practice, then I had to go somewhere else. So it wasn't really practical to stay in the Paris, because then I gotta bring everything through they're open. I don't know. It's not really a hallway. It's bigger than a hallway. Anyway, they got a path you follow that looks like you're inside of a mall. If you see my walkthrough video, it'll make sense. But I didn't want to lug all my stuff in between those two. So, with that, the Horseshoe itself was not any nicer than the South Point, in my opinion. In some cases, it might even be in worse shape. If you start counting in some of their crazy rules and things they don't provide. There was no microwave. There was no coffee maker at the Horseshoe. You're only allowed 2 devices connected to the internet. And I didn't try to put 3, but when I got my printout for my bill, they did indicate, like it was notated, how often my device is connected to their system. So it seems like they actually keep track. So if you connected 3, let me know in the comments section if you got charged extra money or not, because that's kind of interesting. Because I have I have 2 devices myself, and then My family's got devices, so there was a lot of people just on regular cellular, which is fine, but I don't know. You're paying a lot for the room. My bill was well over $1,000 just for the hotel rooms. Part of that bill, very interesting. The resort fee is $45 at the Horseshoe. That's not one-time fee of $45. That's $45 per night. That's over double what South Point was. South Point was only $20 a night for the resort fee. Now you got all the other fees too. Don't think it's like, oh, only $45 a night. How'd you get to over $1,000? No. This is just a fee. That's not the room. They charge you, I think it was like $35 for every additional person you add to your room over 2 people. So there was only 2 of us. 3 if I count, me, myself, and I. Let's see. No coupon book in the room like South Point. That was actually kind of nice. The hotel key cards to get into your hotel room, not Archery themed. I don't know if the South Point stepped away from that at one point, but for a couple of years there, we were having like archers on them. I don't know, like AAE would pay, I think, and have their sponsored archers on all the key, card keys for the rooms, stuff like that. There just seemed to be a lot less of that. I feel like the South Point, the hotel casino, actually became archery themed to an extent, whereas this one wasn't. We were treated just like the other events in a sense. Like, I don't know, it was made less important. I know we're not important, but I don't know. It was nice to really thoroughly take over a casino. Let's see. Oh, the housekeeping though. Not that they were necessarily bad at South Point, but they were very pleasant here. They were very nice. And I got a lot of extra stuff because I leave my room locked. Nobody's allowed in it. I don't want room service. So when you run out of things, they were very happy to give you extras. So that was pretty sweet. Walls are kind of thin. You can actually hear the toilets flushing from the the floor above when you're walking down the hallway. They took our ice maker away on our floor, so we had to go to the floor above or below. That was actually, most of this was actually room-related stuff. Oh, they charge you for early check-in. Now, to the other, to the USATs I go to, this is not a problem. You never get charged. For here, it sounds like an hour plus early, they were charging you $50 an hour. There was at least a $50 fee for checking in early. There was also a fee, I believe, for staying past your stay time, which I guess either one of these can make sense to a degree. It's just not something that I've seen it's not very common when I go to all these other tournaments. This place seems to be really sticking out. I don't think I ever realized it being an issue at the South Point. I probably should have specified earlier in this video, like, I've been going to these things since somewhere around like 2012. So this is not my not my first rodeo by any means. I should expand a little bit on the actual shooting, like me actually shooting arrows. I guess you would call it the VIP championship practice range that was up in the Normandy that you had to take an escalator up to the second floor. It was kind of out of the way. That room was terribly lit. It was also tiny. I think there was 8 targets on both sides, so there's 16 targets. Now, yes, I didn't have a space problem when I got there. I also don't practice a lot when I'm at these events or at Vegas, because half the time part of the time I'm either shooting arrows for score, and the rest of the time I'm at the booth, which is fine. But it just didn't seem like that would be enough targets. There's, between all the championship divisions, you're probably, talking, I would think, like 1,000 archers. Gotta be real close. Maybe more than 1,000. but definitely several hundred. I don't see how there would be enough space, but it was terribly lit. It was really bad. It was probably worse than any room that you could practice in at the South Point. On the flip side, where we shot for championship was actually all right, especially after there was complaints. There was complaints during the first day of official practice, and there was a whole section of targets that were noticeably darker than the other sections of targets, and there was a lot of complaints. And the hotel actually did something about it. They happened to have additional lights that were already up there on the ceiling, and they turned some of those on and I guess spaced them out a little bit better to help kind of evenly flood all the targets. So yeah, they were still slightly darker, but it was much more uniform, much more even of a spread of light, making it a lot more fair. I didn't have to deal with that the first day, but the second 2 days I would have been right in the pitch black zone of, you felt like you were shooting at night. And that was solved, so I was actually surprised. I was kind of lame that the hotel couldn't bother to fix some of these lights before we got there. I don't know. We have to be paying good money for this. You can't be bothered to keep your lights mostly working. Like, I can understand you get one or two, but there was some sections where it was less than half were actually lit up. But okay, that actually was better though. The DOS positioning sucked in that, but they couldn't do much about that because the trade show was there. So somehow we went to the bigger space, but didn't have enough space. It also felt a lot less important being in championship. Not that I'm doing championship to feel important. I do championship because one, it works out time wise, and two, I just like getting annihilated by all the top archers. And no, it is a pleasure to a degree getting to shoot on the same target as Brady or like Florian or you name it. You can shoot on the target as Marcus Delmeda. All these different archers. It's a nice opportunity. My scores aren't terrible, but they are definitely not of the high world-class archers, but it's fun to shoot with those guys. So that's why I do it. But in terms of actually going, wow, there was no wow factor for qualification as a championship division archer. Maybe our lighting was better than the flights. I can't tell you because I did not shoot flights. I went in those rooms. It didn't look great. I'm guessing it was on par with South Point. Maybe some of them could be a little bit worse. Hard to say. I didn't shoot those, so I can't really comment too much. But coming back to the whole, we're in a bigger venue, right? For some reason, seating and stuff seemed more crowded and more cramped than ever. Somehow we have more space, but we simultaneously have less space. And ironically, we had less archers. Unless there's some magical update, we were still a good, 500 or 600 short, give or take. Maybe we're gonna get a magical update and we're suddenly gonna be tied with 2024's numbers at South Point. But I don't think so. But somehow we had less space. So I'm confused at that. And another thing as an archer, which was annoying, the bow bags. I know exactly, I suspect I know why they had the bow bags, but they were honestly, it's really impractical. It was this is absurd. I'm walking around with essentially a giant trash bag on my bow. I ended up cutting mine in half to try to make it function a little bit better because, I don't know, otherwise you might as well just, for a recurve archer that is, you might as well just have your stabilizers off and your bow destrung and I guess just your sight and stuff mounted onto your riser and then carry it in a backpack, I guess, while holding your riser with maybe your sidebars on it. Because otherwise, I don't know. It was really frustrating. It definitely took up more space in the elevators because you started losing some maneuverability. It was a mess. Why they had us do it was probably at the request of the casino, but let's say the people that go to that section of the strip are kind of like all the characters in like a cartoon show, and then some. All the cartoon characters and the fairy tale characters all in one spot. It is a very interesting grouping of people, and I even heard some of them where they realized that there was something in the bag, and they were having like this like existential thing about there's something in the bag. Like I'm like oh boy. Yeah, I don't. I think there is too many unstable people in that section of the strip that attend those hotels that if we just walked around with our bows out, even though nothing's going to happen, would not be able to mentally handle their existence, and it could get interesting. Because there's some weird, interesting puppies. So yeah, that's my take on it. That like it was the casinos telling us that we had to do this because they know their clientele, and their clientele are, some of them are whack jobs. All right. Anyway, on to part number 2. Life as a vendor. No, really though, South Point had way less of these problems. I feel like the majority of the people that went to South Point that were locals were already in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Like it was the upper half of society. It was a lot of like blue collar people. It was a lot of retired people. You didn't have all the loose upstairs people, and I think that's why that's a thing. But okay, as a vendor. Sure Shot Archery, I was really fortunate. I set up my booth. Well, I picked my booth location as close to Lancaster as possible because, this year was a big test year. It was a big risk of spending a lot of money to go here and possibly not making any or enough of it back to try to at least cover the bills. So we covered the bills, so that's that's good. But in that process, man, did we have a mess. We had an absolute mess. Let's see. So, the ballroom I was in, we were unable to set up on time. We were supposed to start, I think, at 8 in the morning. They double booked that room. We didn't really start until, I don't know, like 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, something like that. I didn't have a stopwatch. I wasn't timing it. I probably should have wrote down the time. I was just happy we were finally starting. I didn't get done until at least like 10:30, setting up my little, 100 by 10 by 10, my 100 square foot booth here, a tiny little booth, smallest you can buy or rent, I guess you would say. Other people like Lancaster and stuff, they would have been there for forever if it weren't for the fact that they got as many people together as possible to try to assemble everything and get everything out. Now, the other side of the trade show, the other room, that worked out fine for them. It seemed to work out all right. Worked out better than us. We were running around. So I don't know. It's pretty rude that the casino managed to double book us. I think it's pretty ridiculous. Unless somebody screwed up somewhere on the archery end of it. I don't know, but I'm just putting it out there. As a vendor, with all the money I paid, I could have saved the whole day. Came in a day later, would have saved several $100s. Say $500. Maybe it's a little less than that, but I could have saved $500 in one day. For me, that makes a difference. Oh, this whole thing ended up feeling like it was 2 trade shows in one. I had a lot of people that were very confused. They're like, oh, the trade show's really small this year. I was like, oh, did you go to the other room? And they're like, there's another room? Yes, there is another room. They didn't think about how the flow of people should work. They set up some booths that ended up turning into basically a giant wall, blocking your view through the open doors, up the stairs into the next room. It was very disconnected, and it honestly did feel like it was two separate events going on that just both happened to be doing archery. And I don't think that was good. I don't think it was good for the overall experience for the vendors. They're paying a lot of money. Mine's a couple $1,000s for a booth. You have other places that are spending probably 5 figures for a booth. And there was definitely like dead spots in the show where it seemed like a majority of the archery population really didn't wander into because they're out of the beaten path. Or, it looks like it's a wall there, so they're not going to go investigate. They don't want to go somewhere they can't go. So I think there was a fair amount of booths that really didn't get any foot traffic at all. And I think that's going to hurt us some because, you can't spend... this is like a Vegas for the vendor side's got to be at least a $5,000 plus, if not more. Like that's if you just bring yourself, right? If you're paying people, you're probably spending close to 10 grand, I would think, on a small booth, depending on how you're working everything out. Like I don't know. At some point that the math stops making sense, and is it really worth? Then you got to start thinking, like, is it enough? Is it enough people seeing my logo and meeting me and getting to talk with my customers? Is that enough to justify, losing thousands of dollars? I don't know. So something to think about. Because once they start going and the archers start going, you can make a nasty cascade effect of people not showing up to this event. Let's see. Some other issues as a vendor. There was no security. So at the South Point, the doors were closed to the vendor area, and there was usually one security guard. And then he would be checking badges, maybe not always checking them the best. But, okay, there was still a presence. The presence alone deters probably 99% of the people. And there's not that many people, from my experience in archery, that have ill intentions. I'm sure there's always a few, but there's always a bad apples in the bunch. But besides that, the general population of the strip could also come into the venue while we were setting up, while it was closed. Some of these companies have a significant amount of inventory just hanging out. Yeah, some of them are like locked down. I noticed some of the bow manufacturers actually put like bike locks on their bows. But not everybody, and there's some things you just can't... You don't have the time to put it in and out every single day, especially when they made the show an hour longer. Like, now we're here for, 9 hours a day or something like that? Like, it gets to be a lot. I like talking to everybody, but at some point in time, it does get to be a lot, especially when you're trying to shoot. But even you're just running a company, it's a lot. Food costs, this kind of ties into both. It could be either individual or a company. Food was expensive, and there was companies that are in my mind more successful than I am financially, and they were eating at the same affordable places that I found, and they were complaining about the cost. So I don't know, kind of tells you something. Like I at that point I realized maybe, okay, it isn't just me. Other companies that definitely seem a lot more successful, that are larger companies, are seeing the financial little strain of this event. It's like, I have to feed all my staff. I can't afford to take them out to $50 meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's $150 a person a day. Well, now, if you're someone big, like say you have like 10 staff, that's like we're getting into wild amounts of money. Like obviously some archery companies can afford that, but again, it adds up. So, for me, I'm cutting as many corners as possible on the food thing. You got to get breakfast somewhere. So we were finding breakfast for like $17 a person. That wasn't too bad. We would go to like CVS or Target to buy bigger things of juice and things, and we would just go and eat that upstairs in the hotel room. For lunch, we did peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because we could buy that in more bulk from like the CVS or Target that was kind of nearby. Look, the CVS was pretty close. The Target was sort of nearby. It was still like a 20-minute walk or something like that. And then for dinner, by the time dinner comes around, you're so tired you just want to eat food and then be done. We did all right with that. We kept going to a burger place. They had chicken too, so at least you could kind of vary it. But again, you're back to just the hamburger was like $18. Anything that was a side was additional money, like fries were $8, and then the drink on top of that. So you would then just take the hamburger to go. You go back to your room, and then you have your iced tea or whatever upstairs. That was cheaper because you bought it in bulk at CVS or Target. I don't know. I don't know. We were kind of stuck there. On the flip side, when I went to South Point, we would eat out every night. We wouldn't be bringing it back to the hotel room. Breakfast was cheap, but it was good over at South Point still. And food was probably half the cost, like half as much. It cost half as much for food at South Point than it did at the Horseshoe in Paris, and the serving sizes were a lot bigger too. So half the time, I wouldn't even have to make lunch. You just eat the leftovers from last night's dinner for lunch the next day. Boom, problem solved. Beautiful thing. I think that's about it. Oh, another annoying thing, and concerning as a vendor too, is flights and flight practice. Flights and flight practice, from my understanding, well, definitely flights, was way too far away. They're over in the Paris. They're away from the trade show. You could potentially just never check it out, especially if you were, just driving in. Like if you're kind of local, you could really just never bother seeing the trade show, because I don't think, as a flights archer, you'd ever have to go over to see the trade show. Like, so how many people did we miss out, there from like just seeing my stuff? You don't have to buy something, but I use this as a great way to get the word out some more. I don't know, the schedule was kind of hit or miss, and things always seem to change, much more so than at the South Point. From my understanding, the finals venue changed as well. I'm really sure in March of last year, or February of last year, they were saying it was going to be in the Jubilee Hall. And then all of a sudden we weren't there and we're over at Planet Hollywood. I'm very sure that changed. Other than that, like, line times for things were always shifting. I guess I'll get into a little bit of that in the next section. All right, so it's a new day, and it's also a new part 3 of this video. What I've heard. Just me talking with people coming to the booth, all of that. Some of these people, have been doing this a while. Others I've known for years personally, so we've got a little mix of stories going on here. But just to give you an idea of what's happening. Let's see. They were looking, I guess, into people's rooms when housekeeping comes in. Somebody had a hot plate in their room. They got in trouble for having a hot plate in their room. I don't know. You don't provide microwaves. I don't know. What do you kind of expect people to do? Somebody I heard bought a microwave because they did the math, and it was cheaper to buy a microwave than it was to, eat out for all 3 meals. So they bought a microwave to cook things in their room. I wouldn't be surprised if that's more of a trend. The moral of this story is don't let housekeeping come in your room. Oh, somebody got in trouble for having a large camera on the street, the Las Vegas Strip. They were told that they needed a filming permit in order to use this camera. Meanwhile, you have people doing all kinds of questionable things. Some are not legal because they're selling you things that you should not be buying. But they don't need a permit. Nobody asked them questions. Now, they gave some guy with a big camera a hard time that was filming, I think, like B-roll for archery videos. You know, whoa, down at the Vegas Strip for the 2025 Vegas shoot. Nope. You need a camera permit to do that. So that was a new one. Somebody else I know. I've known these people very well. They had an issue checking into their room. So a member of their company couldn't attend the Vegas shoot. I think they got sick or whatever. All the rooms were in their name, under this company. So it's like Joe's rooms for XYZ Archery type of deal. The hotel refused to release the rooms to the other members of the company. I'm John from XYZ Archery Company. Oh, we can't give you this room, John, because it's under Joe's name or whatever. The NFAA, from my understanding, had to step in and mediate between the two parties to convince the hotel that, yes, give them their room. These are the same people. I don't know. You can tell there must be a lot of fraud and stuff that goes on the main Vegas Strip, in the pack section. Unlike, less so by South Point, but like where the horseshoe and stuff is, there must be a lot of theft and crime and fraud because they are extremely adamant about like making sure you are who you are, to the point where it's absurd. Like we would order food, right? We didn't leave. We are standing right there. They would check to make sure that we are that person that ordered that food. Like we didn't even leave. So I don't know. It gives you a good feeling that there's a lot of problems. Like we walked ourselves into a lot more problems down here. Somebody came in early to make it a vacation with their wife. A nice trade-off. Maybe your wife doesn't shoot. Maybe your husband doesn't shoot. We'll go to Vegas early. We can do things that you like, and then you can spend the rest of the week watching me shoot arrows. Actually, sounds like a pretty reasonable way to go about things, especially if you and your partner, your spouse, don't participate in the same hobby. The hotel confiscated their bow, because they didn't know that there was an archery tournament that was going to be occurring in a few days, and it took them hours to get it back because they basically had to prove to the hotel that there was going to be an archery tournament. This kind of goes back to the points I was bringing up earlier before the Vegas shoot. We are no longer important, even if we bring, I don't know, I think there was like 3,500, 4,000, like 3,800 of us, and they still don't care. I don't think they're. I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting. I've never heard about these things at the South Point, and I've been going there. I don't know. I think we went there at least a decade, maybe more. It's been a long time at the South Point, and a lot of this stuff I didn't hear happening. I got a lot of people tell me that they're not coming next year, which is not good. That's scary as coming from the vendor point of view. I need people to show up so that I can sell them my really good archery products, and get to talk with them and get to share my brand with them. And if enough people don't show up, it is going to make it financially difficult to justify coming to this event. And a lot of it has to do on like multiple levels here. It's really not, this place is not really great for children. And archery is to a large extent a family sport. And I'll get into this more in the next section with my theories and other theories that people are throwing around about this event. But I don't think we're big enough to cut out the families. I think it's going to be a mistake. Let's see. Oh, this is interesting. So this Caesar's Entertainment Properties, from my understanding, are a dog-friendly, pet-friendly facility, which is cool. But the trade-off is somebody's dog pooped on their floor, like I guess the hallway, connecting, whatever floor it was in the hotel, and nobody proceeded to clean it up for days. It's pretty gross. I don't know how that could be missed. They have 2 shifts of house cleaning. They have so many rooms to clean, but yeah, supposedly it's quite bad. So somebody forgot about that. And then a large majority of the complaints too, besides it not being friendly for their kids. They as adults don't want to see these things, so they definitely don't want their children to see these things. The food's killing people. Like it's way too expensive. It's eating into people's budgets too much, and yeah, a lot of people said that was the main reason. Not so much the fact that like the tournament is kind of spread out all over the place. It sounded like they could figure that out. It took everybody a day or so to really get their bearings on where everything's located, but the cost of food being so steep, with everything else too, because you're still paying more for the hotel rooms, you're still paying more for the parking. You got to figure out, should I be staying, should I be parking in Parish or should I be parking in Horseshoe? There's a lot more going on, but it's all adding up. It's like a death by 1,000 cuts. Personally, I think NFAA needs to do a survey, send it out to everybody that attended, to try to get an idea on what can be improved, what can't be improved. Like, I understand like some of these things they don't have any control over. I don't know, there needs to be a more concise, I think, answer or solution to this in order to convince people that it's going to be better next year. All right, part 4, time to put our tinfoil hats on. No, not quite. All right, there'll definitely be some things that are theories, but this is ideas, conspiracies, and kind of a summary of everything I just went through. So, in short, in my opinion, I think this could be a death by 1,000 cuts type of situation where not necessarily one thing ruins the whole sum of things here for the Vegas shoot, but there's just a lot of like not great stuff. Like, breaking down the numbers wise, this event cost me somewhere in the ballpark of like $1,500 more than South Point. That's including food, that's including the hotel stay, that's including kind of including the registration fee and vendor fees, but not really, because that always kind of like, those are kind of give-me's for me. It's more about things like food and the hotel room cost and the transportation there. It cost me almost $100 in taxis, because leaving they refused to allow me to take one taxi for all of my bags. Absolutely refused. I probably should have just did the Uber thing, but I don't do that a lot. I live in an area where you don't Uber. If you don't have a car, you can spend a long time walking. Good luck to you. So, yeah, I think I've Ubered like twice in my whole life. So, the taxi thing just made more sense until they extorted me for a whole nother fee because they refused to fill a car up with my luggage. So it was one taxi fee to the hotel, but it was 2 leaving because I had to split it into 2 different taxis. So that wasn't great. You got more room fees. Their hotel amenity fee for using the pool and stuff like that. That was double, even though the pool was broken. And yeah, we're gonna use the pool. We're here for an archery tournament, so stuff like that I don't think is helping us. But then you get into like other things. Just the fact that this is like really the adult part of like this is the adult part of Las Vegas. Like, I don't know. Between all the smoke in the casino, and then you go out to the strip, and all it smells like is basically weed, and probably people that peed on the sidewalk. It's not really a great vibe, as the kids would say, atmosphere, as the adults would say. And then that's just what you're smelling. Like, you got the other senses, and like there's things you don't want to see. There's things that are things that you don't even see when you go to the beach. It's like, why? Like, I don't know. Like, you can do your thing, but again, archery at the core is a family sport. If we don't keep the families in it, I don't think you keep the numbers in the sport. And this is what it really comes down to. Not the questionable motives of random strangers on the Vegas Strip. It's more of the, why should we shoot ourselves in the foot for all the growth that has been made over the past, I don't know, several decades, in order to try to get to a more glamorous venue. Like, yeah, okay, maybe we were running out of space at the South Point, but there's not somewhere else in the Vegas area that isn't sticking us like right downtown in the mess of humanity. Like, it just doesn't seem like a fitting spot for a sport that's driven by families, like if you don't have it being passed down through the generations, I shoot, my kids shoot, I think you cut out a major portion of this event, and there's just not enough people that are going to watch to fund a solely professional division that's only, adult archers. Like, you could get away with it that way, but I don't think you can find the money, and there doesn't seem to be the appetite to try to find those type of sponsorships. Like, we would need to pick up like alcohol sponsors then, and maybe we should partner with Marlboro at this rate. Like, I just don't see where the money's going to be, and that drives everything. You can't run this as a charity. It just won't exist. So I don't know. Maybe I'm like grossly misunderstanding, but and I would love to be wrong. I would love to this be successful. I just don't know how you make it successful when you're kind of gutting the main driving force behind this. Is families going to this event where the majority of the family shoots archery, maybe not together because they're separate divisions, and then they stick around to buy things at the vendor booths. They stick around to watch the Vegas final. They watch the World Cup Indoor Series final. I don't think you get all this audience. There's just not enough. Like, I'm an adult. I don't have any children, but if it weren't for the fact that I ran a business, this would get unbelievably expensive unless I'm making over 6 figures plus a year at a job outside of archery. If you get where I'm going. Like, if I wasn't heavily involved in this sport and I didn't have a well-paying job, it would make no financial sense to go here. And I think we're going to drive a lot of people away. I don't know. I really would like to be wrong. Again, that's like how I made the first video with saying how low attendance was. It was nice to see that it bumped up. It was still a good 500 to 600 archers short of South Point, and it might be worse in the future, because I heard even more complaints. And even if 20% of those people, actually go through with it and don't show up, you're still talking about another several hundred, maybe another 1,000 people not showing up. I don't know how much more of that you can take. At some point, it's not financially practical. So besides us cutting out the family part of archery, my theory is, and some of this is from talking to other people, my theory is that there are larger venues that management wishes to rent out, such as the Caesars Forum. And from my understanding and my thoughts is that we don't have enough people right now. So we were brought to this larger venue that ended up being smaller because less of us showed up this year than back in 2024. An attempt to grow the sport, and we're going to suffer through these growing pains in the hope that even though we're going to cut out a lot of the families, the attendance is still going to grow until we get to like somewhere around 8,000 people, so that we can financially afford to like rent out a Caesars Forum. Obviously, this is speculation, and I don't know for sure, but it seems that's the route we're going. There's always been talk in archery in general about trying to make it like a professional type of thing, but again, I think you don't make it there if you cut out the families. The sport hasn't matured enough, even though we've been around a long time. The sport has not matured enough to the fact that it can support itself without it still being family centric. Like, what's the point of having like shooting with the pros or meet the pros and all this stuff if you're going to be putting it in areas that aren't family friendly? And if you think Vegas is family friendly, especially the Strip, you have a really interesting perspective on the world, and good for you, but I don't think you make it here, especially with just the people that go and shoot archery events. So and that's not against anybody in archery. I'm one of those people, but hopefully it'll turn out well. I don't know if this video ends up going anywhere. I'm not trying to really rock the boat. I just think that there is some major outlining, just some major issues that I kind of see coming up towards us, and I just don't know how we solve them from stepping away from what we are. And that at the heart of it seems like archery is a family friendly, family like core sport. You need friends, you need family. It's like it's a group thing, and I just don't know if it survives or grows that well when you cut out that core principle from it. And I've thought on this, but I don't know. I could be wrong, and I'm more than willing to learn from that. But I'll keep my eye out. I still intend on going to the next Vegas shoot, unless it's like really bad. But until it really gets financially ugly, I'll probably keep attending. But I guess hopefully you will too, because one side of my business definitely appreciates you guys coming. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. I think this pretty much sums it up. At least that's a majority of what people were talking about, and I asked a lot of people. Anyway, please like and subscribe, and as always, happy shooting.